It found the things.
Yes, the ladies. It feels nice for us, for you to be at the table. Thanks.
Oh.
Ashley printed it before she left. Guilty as charged.
All right, well, it is time should be.
Gemini sun. Yeah.
It's 9:04.
What?
It's 9:04.
We're discussing a astrology.
Oh, as you do.
Because I'm a Leo rising, which is why I want to be in the center all the time.
Oh.
Yes.
I mean, I'm definitely an Aries with Leo and then that other one, like Scorpio. I'm just like fire everywhere. So.
Fire. On fire.
That's perfect outfit.
I was like, imagine.
I like to think of it as revolutionary red, but also,
Hi guys, welcome.
Hi.
We're here to talk about Andor, so if that's what you're here for, great. You've come to the right room.
should we introduce ourselves?
Sure.
Ashley,
Hi.
Leo rising.
I am the Leo rising. I'm Ashley. I signed on to do this panel about 2 months ago and realized I should watch the show. I do like Star Wars and I did want to watch it. I just hadn't gotten around to it yet. So I have been trying to slam dance through Andor so that I could have thoughts on it. I didn't finish, but I do have thoughts still. So if you could avoid spoilers, that would be great.
We won't be discussing the end.
That's fine. I read.
Oh.
I read what.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jen Senef, I for some reason put off watching this for a long time, and I don't know why. I think it's because I knew it would be hard, and I wasn't ready for hard. You know what I mean? And then I watched it, and I loved it, and I cried a lot, and I had all the feels. And so I'm curious to share all this feels with you.
Hello, most of you know me as Madame Askew. I'm here incognito as my alter ego, Mademoiselle Askew. And I'm very happy to be here with my favorite Roynish Turtle Conservation Society chums. I love Andor. I watched it when it initially came out and wept. It is very hard to watch and very poignant at this particular moment. I did rewatch it about 75% before this, just to refresh myself, so I could be up to snuff to meet you ladies at the table.
I'm Tanya, and I think I came up with the idea to do this panel like over a year ago.
Before season 2 came out?
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved Rogue One. It's my husband's favorite Star Wars movie. It's really close to mine. So when I saw they were making Andor, I was so excited, and it's executed so well. There's so much good stuff in it, and like my companions here, I also have had a lot of feelings over the course of this series. And we're excited to talk with you guys tonight. It's as you probably know, it's run by a man named Tony Gilroy and it stars Diego Luna. And there are some we may end up touching on some of the hard things, and so some, just sort of a general content warning for very hard things. And we'll try not to spoil the end.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
I read up on. I'm like halfway through season too, so I just read up on the last couple episodes.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, no, good. Yes.
And you've seen Rogue One?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to know the zero one, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so like we've seen the rebellion, like in like the original trilogy when we first see this rebellion, it's very well established, it's very organized. But the thing that really kind of drew me into Andor is you get to kind of see it from a different angle, from different angles. It's not really that organized yet, and the people, like Andor's family, the people in his town, in his clan, they're like just working class people trying to get by, trying to live their life and keep their head down so they don't get targeted. And then I liked how it was sort of juxtaposed with the opposite end of the spectrum, with Mon Mothma and Bail Organa, and then like Luthien Rael, and like trying to organize it from the standpoint of like Mothma is helping to fund it, and Bail is helping to kind of fund and organize, and Rael is just sort of like, he's basically a spy master. And how they're all kind of working together to try to build something. And it was really so cool.
Not only that, but you got the stories of the federal regulators. And you know, that you saw their story too. Or you know, the imperial.
Yeah, I wasn't really
Bureaucracy.
that interested in the ISB, but it was fun. It was an interesting point of view, but they weren't really what I was invested in.
Yeah, watching this for the first time, specifically right now, and again, it's hitting very differently for me than it would have if I watched it when it first came out because of the general fuckery that's going on right now. So being able to see this from the like kind of grassroots beginning was really interesting because this is where we're at. You know, like this is the point where we're at, where we're starting to try and like put something together. So being able to watch it happen and then knowing how it ends up, because we've seen that first, was really cool. In my opinion.
And I think I was more interested than you were in the ISB because I felt like it was showing the scope of what they were up against, right? Just like how difficult it is to go up against this behemoth organization full of people who are also true believers. We talked about true believers on the, for the revolution, but I mean, the true believers, and I can't say her name now, it's escaping me. Yes. She was evil and awful and brilliant, and that's what they were up against. Like,
Yeah.
and they had so much grit to go up against.
What is the human motivation?
Pardon
behind
me?
people?
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
We will call for questions.
I am sorry.
Yes, thank you so much. And also, it's very hard to hear already, and when you talk over us, it makes us
No,
hard.
I am
Thank you.
very sorry.
Yeah, great. You were saying?
No, just I felt like it was important to see that side, to put in perspective what this ragtag group started up against and how amazing it is that they got from here to here by the end of season 2.
Yeah. I was not invested in the ISB, right? I wasn't like pulling for them.
No.
But I found it very useful to contextualize things.
Yes. I mean, it was useful.
And also, and I did think that the characters were very well written and developed. But one thing that so resonated for me, and I've watched it now, both when it initially aired and like this past 2 weeks, right? And so we do have our greater political context that we're living through. So I did have different sort of feelings and insights watching it the second time. And the thing that hit me so much about the villains is that they are just so mundane in so many ways. They are going to work, they are doing their jobs, they're not thinking about themselves as villains or what they're doing as villainous, but they can sit in a boardroom and say things like, well, strip mining the planet like that might result in the core of just sort of deteriorating the planet becoming uninhabitable. But, I mean, we could see about like relocating people, I guess. And just like the whole point of this.
it felt like this is this like weird level of absurdity.
Yeah. Yeah.
May I stop and ask how in the weeds we want to go with our current situation, because I have a parallel.
I don't care.
Okay, well then, I was listening to AOC the other day, and she made a statement about how she personally felt like when she went to work, she was gonna be up against this big supervillain, right? And that in fact, it was a bunch of mundane, not so bright folks doing really terrible things together. And I think of that every time I watch Andor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sometimes I found a kind of weird, complicated hope, right? At the same time, I found it very gut-wrenching and heartbreaking and irregular. But we know where the story goes. And so we know that there is success from this scrappy origin.
Yeah.
And that they are able to combat this sort of like mundane evil. And we also, because we've watched or read ahead or what have you, we know what happens to the bad guys.
Yeah.
And one of the things I found, particularly lately, very hopeful, and pardon me if I'm like jumping ahead too far, is the comeuppance they get at their own hands in
Yeah.
their own system.
That was, there is some stuff that I saw kind of screenshot, kind of almost meme-like posts where I was like, I wonder curious how we get there.
Yeah.
Because that, and on that topic of like true believers, because like Dieter was all in.
100%.
And the one thing I did find really interesting in season 2 with like Deidre and Cyril,
Oh, yes.
because we kept watching and we were like, oh, he's gonna turn.
Yes.
He's gonna turn. And then it was just like, what? It just was wild.
Yeah.
What happened with him. And then Deidre, who just like thinks she is like righteous in her beliefs and her convictions and what she has done. She's fulfilled her mission. She's found saying, but it's like, then she finds out that it doesn't matter how loyal you are to the Empire, they will throw you away if you piss them off. And watching, the actress was so good because you see it. You can just see it happen. You just see her realize that she's done. They no longer care about her because she's no longer useful.
And she's like chewed up in the system too, like unjustly, right? Or justly in a bigger scheme.
Yeah.
But she's picked up for things she didn't do, right?
Yes.
It's like terrible. It would be terrible, but I'm just like, oh, the terrible irony.
Yeah, I was just like, well,
Yeah. The leopards will eat your face.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really thought, and this isn't the political side of it at all, but the interaction between her and Cyril's mom.
Oh my god. Oh my
Okay,
goodness.
I loved that. Before you open
This is
the
not how this is gonna happen. Like, it just set it out that this is how this is gonna go. I was like, wow.
You know, to be honest, she's a very bad person.
Yes.
Even though there's like a core of her background where I'm like, I see you how you became this person.
Yeah, her childhood.
And I'm sorry that happened to you. But also as an adult, whether you're a character in a story manipulated by people writing your story, or as an adult in the real world, at a certain point you are in charge of the choices you make, and like you get to take credit for the wrong thing to do. But that moment with Cyril's mom, I was like, oh, you're bad, but I like you a little bit. Not really, but like,
I laughed so hard.
it was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good.
I do think though it is really that moment when she realizes how expendable she is, right? She thought she was so important and so key, and to realize everybody, including her, is expendable, that betrayal is kind of glorious.
Well, yeah, Pendergast, all of them.
Yeah.
Nobody was so valuable.
Yeah, with him, his moment was really like,
Yeah,
hey.
yeah.
So like the manifesto was playing, and he just says, "I need a moment," and you can tell that the other guy knew exactly what was going to happen as soon as he walked out the door.
Am I jumping ahead, since we're talking about the start of the rebellion, to talk about Nemec's manifesto?
No, we're like, I mean, this is just general.
Okay, great. So I do want to talk about Nemec and his manifesto. So like, because I rewatched it so recently, I remembered him from my first watch through and how like he's an important character and he wrote this manifesto and it, you know, it sounded powerful and it like hit and I was like, oh yeah, sweet guy. This time I was so gutted. I was just like, I had to stop and sob ugly racking tears when he died. I was snotty. I was so gross.
Well, and
Absolutely.
he was, and it's interesting too because like Cassian is very cynical
Yeah.
because he doesn't see how any of this is going to make any difference whatsoever. And then he meets Nemec, and Nemec has, you know, his thing where it's, you know, the frontier of the rebellion is everywhere, and even the smallest act of insurrection pushes our lines forward. And you see Cassian throughout kind of keep reading through the whole thing, and eventually he's just kind of like, yeah, all right. And I almost kind of think that Nemec's death is one of the things that just pushes him forward.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's like it's one of those like inflection points in the story. And like, Cassian has to go on a long journey. But Nemec says that thing early on where he's like, you're my ideal reader. And he's right. Because he takes Cassian from being like apathetic, self-involved, certain he can't change the system, so why bother? Which is a play, like, I don't mean this dismissively, but I think anyone can feel that when you're up against the machine of mundane evil. Like, why bother? I can't do anything anyway. Just jaded. Jaded. And then Cassian's like, apparently, I'm gonna willingly sacrifice myself on the beach, the most beautiful skyline ever behind me, so they can have the Death Star plans. And I'm just like, oh my God, Cassian.
One of the things from, I think Nemec was the one that said this, but when he was initially talking to Cassian about why they're doing what they're doing and what they're up against, and he said, two things that I wrote down was the pace of oppression outstrips our ability to understand it, which is so true, and that's what they do, is it's just everything is coming at you so fast that you can't, you're like, wait, what's going on? And they're just throwing more stuff at you before you can even process this part here. And then the second part of that was, it's easier to hide behind 40 atrocities than a single incident. And that is also so poignant and relevant to what we're dealing with in real life. And so watching this with the context of the current climate was just lots of feelings. It made me so like hopeful, but also sad and mad, and just all of the feelings that you have going through this. So, yeah.
Yeah, but Nemec really, like, and that young actor who plays him, like, we only have so little time with Nemec. And even for that brief episode, essentially, we're with him, he's got very little screen time. And yet, he's like an incredible presence. From the moment we see him falling asleep, right, you know, when he's supposed to be lookout, to his kindness at every turn, he's just able to really capture the scene. And I think the actor deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
Because it's not a lot of screen time to imbue so much into a character.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And it's also interesting because this is, I think, the first time they've ever shown us a prison in
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
The word prison of Narkina 5, where, you know, you find out that they are building parts for the Death Star.
Yes.
And it was very interesting and very cool to see that in this prison, they're taking care of each other. You know, you have somebody who's like fumbling the job, but everybody like rushes to help cover for him because, you know, basically like terrible things are going to happen to everyone if somebody falls behind or screws up.
Part of your team.
Right, it's part of your team.
Well, it's really interesting, and I'm glad you brought it up because, you know, the Empire is this really interesting dichotomy of being like very assimilationist. Everybody is in lockstep, looks the same. Everybody has a uniform. We talked about this during our fashion panel. Fashion, full revolution. And but they're all like very beige, and everybody's got a uniform, and you're like in lockstep. But also they're like isolated, not collectivist. You may be all the same, but you aren't coming together and helping each other.
Mhm.
And so then you get into the prison and they learn to be collectivist, which is so radical. Yeah.
And now they're like, you know, in the prison, they're all kind of strung along with, you know, like, this is your sentence, but like, at any point in time, they'll change the sentence. And then somebody notices that nobody ever gets out. And that's kind of what makes everybody kind of be like, oh.
Move to a different floor.
Well, there,
Move to a different floor.
yes,
Yeah.
move to a different floor. Well, there's that character, right, in the prison, who is played by Gollum.
Yes.
And I know
Kino Lloyd.
Keno Lloyd. I know he's not Gollum in this movie, but anytime I see that actor, I'm like, hey, Gollum, how's it going? And Keno Lloyd, I think, is such I mean, like, that actor's always brilliant. But he's such a brilliant character because he is the tool of oppression. And he's positive if he can, like, be respectable enough and follow the rules enough and do everything right and just do everything the system says, he's gonna be okay.
Yeah, that's very much the leopards eating faces party thing, where he's just like, if I am enough of what they want me to be, if I'm good enough, if I, you know, I'm on their side, I'm one of the good ones, and then in the end, it doesn't matter, he's gonna be recycled the same, because what happened in that episode was, they found out that someone who had been released was actually just cycled to another floor. And the prison killed everyone on the floor to cover that up.
Yeah.
So when they found out about it, because they have these hand signals, they do through windows, which was really cool, that was, you saw it broke Kino
Yeah.
when he saw that. And he was like, you know what? I'm in. I will do whatever I need to do to help make this happen.
Yeah, he had like less than a year left of his time on
Yeah.
the sentence. And, you know, you never know what any of these folks have done.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be severe because, like, Andor has gotten picked up just for, like, looking at the stormtroopers and being like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And they decide, based on that, he must be, you know, bad, and they send him to prison for, like, 6 years. So you don't know. Kino Loy may have got somebody down in a bar on Dagobah, who knows? But or maybe he was just like, yeah, man, I accidentally tripped in front of a stormtrooper, and here I am.
Yep.
It's so sad.
The saddest part about that was at the end, when they do the whole way out and they're running and they finally get to the end and they go to jump and he stops and he's just like, I can't swim. Like, that broke me because he is so cooked at that point. Because it's like they're all going and he's like stopping because he's like, what, I'm either going to jump out of this and drown because I can't swim, or I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna get like really, really in trouble because I was part of this whole breakout thing.
But do you think perhaps he took some solace in the fact that he knew that he was going out on his terms and not,
I do.
as well as probably there were a number of them that weren't going to make it. The majority weren't going to make it to shore.
I think there were a lot of people that just jumped because they would rather die in the water
Yeah,
than like free than in that prison.
that is also has a historical context to it.
Yep.
too.
So
So,
lots of historical context.
yeah.
See a hand back there?
So, you guys were talking about they found collectivism in the prison? Is that or more like a social collectivism as opposed to like just a purely, I guess, visual collectivism? Because the empire at large is very, visually collectivist.
Yeah, I don't know when you walked in because that was sort of the context of my
Okay.
original conversation was that, like, there's this dichotomy, right, where the empire is visually collectivist, they're very homogenous, but they're super isolationist. Everybody is sort of like on their own and are not working together collectively. Whereas in the prison, they may be in uniforms, they're like prison uniforms, but it's really the collective action of becoming a group together, like working together, caring for each other together, being in a cell block together, always there's the same 50 people. You live or die together, that kind of collectivism, right?
Okay,
And it's an
totally.
interesting dichotomy because the empire presents as a unified front, but everybody is on their own.
Okay, cool.
One way out. One way out.
Like a weird and like odd little sidebar. After that in season 1 of Andor, the next time they did, I think they've done it at Star Wars Celebration and they've done it at SDCC. There's been Narkina 5 groups
Oh my gosh.
where like groups of people will dress in the uniforms and they will run together like through the venue and just like chanting one way out. I've heard that it's like really kind of cool and moving to see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just thought that was a fun thing to throw out there.
I don't think I could not cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the amount of hope I felt watching them break out, I didn't expect to feel so much hope in watching a group of people in this terrible situation work together. And it just made me think of some of the wonderful things I've seen with people banding together in community lately. That for people that I know personally who are feeling kind of trapped in their situation, when I watched that, it like immediately connected me to these wonderful things that I see people doing in the community to band together to help people to eat, for example, or things like that. And I feel like it's just so timely. Like as I watch this series, it's all the feels. I just cry. I cried for that prison break because of that community.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd seen it before, so I wanted Kino to actually survive the second time. I was like, can it be different? And I am interested because I think we're all pretty certain he jumped.
Yeah.
But there's definitely,
It doesn't
it's
show it.
ambiguous what happens. And I know what I would do in his shoes, and I know what I hope he did, because I don't want him back in that prison.
No.
Yeah. I hope he jumped. And I hope he jumped and somebody helped him.
Yes.
Because you don't have to swim if you're surrounded by other people who will keep you
Yeah.
afloat.
Headcanon, that's what happened. We're
Yeah.
deciding right now. We're deciding that, yeah.
It's all in lips.
One of the characters that I also thought was really interesting was Mon Mothma.
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about her?
Yeah, she was incredible. And so everything that she is and does and all of that, like that's unfortunately a big part of the resistance or rebellion is you need funding. You need money to be able to do stuff, you know, because you're going up against this empire who controls everything.
They have taxes
Yes, yeah.
and levies and all sorts of things.
But the most relatable moment with her was at her daughter's wedding
Oh my
when
gosh.
her childhood friend was trying to kind of blackmail her. And Luthen was just like, yeah, we'll handle it. And she realizes what happened. So it's just like everything in the world at large and everything in her world, because she did not want her daughter to go through the cultural marriage thing that she had to go through, is just crumbling around her. Everything is just garbage fire everywhere. And so she just starts taking shots and just dancing. And I'm like, that is, who among us has never been to that point?
That
where
is
I'm just
almost
like,
verbatim what I said to Jen when we talked
Was
about
it?
this yesterday. Whom amongst us?
yeah,
It's such a relatable moment.
yeah.
And like, okay, so I know this is a little bit of a strange entry point, but we talked about it during our fashion panel. Because Mon Mothma is like such a stunning character. She's very stylish. She's very elegant and put together. She comes from money. She comes from the upper echelon. She also wears so much beige. It's all like neutral colors and beige and like creams and very unassuming and unaggressive and like not confrontational. She like is non-threatening looking for so much of this series. And that moment at the wedding, she's suddenly in this like copper dress that is so glorious and like absolutely shines and stands out in this crowd. And she is like losing her mind, and she is not a safe person anymore.
Yeah.
But that armor that she dons, I think she tells Luthen, doesn't she, that she has to don that armor.
She does.
Like, it's this, and I think she's like, she wants to be an idealist. She wants to hold on to that purity of what she's doing. And he breaks her when doesn't he make some comment like, what a privileged position.
That you don't know what I mean.
Yeah,
Because
you don't
when-
know what I mean, right?
Yes, I mean-
And it just cracks her because she realizes, you know, at the last minute, she tries to save her daughter from selling her out. And she just cracks. And we talked about the dance, but it was just so not a happy dance, right? It's one of those, you're just drinking and you're just going down.
That whole episode is like so beautiful and so heart-wrenching
Heart-wrenching.
that we don't have the full context of like this culture, the Chandlerins. And I'm like, I have a background in anthropology, linguistic anthropology primarily, but like, if you've been in an anthropology class, like it kind of influences you regardless. And I'm like, okay, but why do we have 14-year-old marriage? What is going on with this society? It's very like codified, it's very ceremonial, there's like clearly all of this very embedded stuff. And we get just these snippets, and I'm like, clearly there is like a pushback of people who are like, it's not okay to marry off 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
And then you've got this reactionary force with the children being like, no, we sought it out for ourselves. I'm 14 and I really want to do this. And like,
She says like everything old is new. Like
Yeah.
it's just it kind of comes back into style where the children want to be that again, which is the whole young, really conservative people now. It's kind of the same thing. It's just like, where are you coming from? Like,
yeah, it's really interesting to watch that, and I felt that as well, and also this sort of horrible calculus and this horrible like emotionally charged moment where you have to decide, will it even matter if I say something? And you can watch her struggle, like, what do I say to my child? How do I save her? That is like one of the most heartbreaking moments in the show.
When she does try to talk to her and say, you don't actually have to do this. Her daughter just says some really cutting stuff about how
cruel.
she thinks that she's drunk.
Yeah.
I wish you were drunk, because she was telling the story about on my wedding, my mother was drunk, and I was always mad at her. Like I never forgave her for that. And she's like, I wish you were drunk, because it would make what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then she quick snaps back the power with, no, I walk in front.
Oh my God, that moment.
Yeah, she just immediately just went right, code switch.
And like the look on her daughter's face though, honestly, I was like, girl, you just realized.
Yeah.
Fuck around, find out. Yes.
At least in this situation, both the bride and groom are 14.
That,
Yes.
Yeah.
That was good.
There's
At least, if you're gonna, at least they're both teenagers.
Versus 14 and 28.
right?
Yeah.
Or even older.
Yeah.
But it is weird in the Star Wars universe, and I know this is a bit off topic, but like they're really into, can we have children as our like senators and our emperors and queens? We like elect you queen at 14 and senator at 16. And I was like, interesting world building, George Lucas.
Let the children lead. Let's see what happens.
A lot of the cultural world building is probably heavily influenced by the Jedi, and the Jedi are all about snatching from the cradle. And so the cultures of the worlds of the Republic look at the Jedi and see, well, their order is so successful, maybe we can emulate some of their ideas, which is wrong. I disagree with you, but like that could be an explanation.
I do, as a tangent, and then I will stop tangenting. I do think you're onto something. I don't know if it's chicken and the egg, right? But I think there is something in this universe, and maybe George Lucas is like, I don't know, I went to film school, I haven't studied anthropology. I didn't really think about the implications, which is what I suspect. But like, this is a universe that in all echelons and all quadrants of the universe, there's a lot of like, we're gonna take 6-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and we're gonna transform them into stormtroopers or Jedi or what have you.
Yeah.
And all of that is questionable.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't want to tangent anymore, but a great observation. Or at least we'll probably tangent again, but yourself in.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, you bring up Mon Mothma, such an incredible character, and we know a lot about her arc because we presumably have watched A New Hope and other things. Can we talk about her feckless husband? Her husband is terrible.
Yeah.
He really
I
is.
I think one of the things that struck me when we were watching it, and like, well, first, I was very excited to learn more about her. Because as a kid, as a girl watching Star Wars growing up, there was basically Mon Mothma and Princess Leia.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mon Mothma seems kind of cool. I don't understand her weird dress. But she seems very cool, and I always wanted to know more about her because she's clearly one of the leaders. And of course, we never learned anything else about her. But so it's like, oh my God, she's Mon Mothma. This is great.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was just, it's like I mentioned the juxtaposition, like we're reading Cassian's story and hers.
Yeah.
And
Balanced it so
I think going back to what you had said before is she's so non-threatening. She'd have to be, because like if you put it into like real context, for example, if AOC is funding and leading a rebellion, they're gonna know. Like they're gonna know. If someone who's a little more like of a moderate or something like that, just you can't draw too much attention to yourself, especially as a woman, I believe, in government. Or they're gonna know. They're gonna be watching you. If you are a threatening person, then
She was just that tiring, bleeding heart person that always had her causes and always wore beige.
Yeah. Always were beige, always
Right.
had like her charity.
and her husband was like,
he's just
he seemed to have like, yeah, he did seem to have like a little bit of influence, and he was kind of a loudmouth.
Yeah.
And he was definitely all in on the Empire.
yeah.
And when I like just watching that, it's like, oh, this is bad.
He had no sense of, he had no purpose, no meaning, like,
Yeah.
she was all about it, and he was the antithesis, right?
Well, as far as we can tell, he didn't do any kind of labor. He was like a house husband. And there's nothing wrong with a house husband, y'all. But like, maybe don't be the house husband who's like, I invited your political enemies to dinner.
Right?
And I've turned your child against you. And I have a gambling
I was gonna
addiction.
say, by the way, I've been running up gambling debts all over the place.
toxic much?
You see him at the end, I was surprised they showed him, but I was like, well, that's where we expected him to be, in his car, drinking it up with somebody new.
I believe that person was one of the family members of his daughter's husband.
Oh.
She looked like his daughter's husband's mom.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh,
I
that
think
might
that
be
was
it,
like,
yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
Okay. So, you know, Mothma's friend, oh my gosh, the one who tried to blackmail her, his name is.
I don't remember.
But I know you.
Yeah,
Her childhood friend.
her childhood friend. There was that moment when she,
Yeah. What's his name?
what was his name?
What's his name?
What's his name?
Yeah. What's his name?
What's his name? Much
Guy.
Guy. Seems
Guy.
much
That
better
guy.
looking than
Guy.
Heron. Yes.
I was,
Do you know his name?
No, I was actually, an earlier point, you were talking about Mon Mothma's husband. Wasn't his gambling addiction actually a fake story that they were feeding to the IS?
It was both. it was real because she said, "Are you doing it again?" And he said, "No, I'm not doing that anymore." Clearly, he had gambled in the past, and it's perfectly plausible that he was doing it again, and it was a very useful cover. We don't know if he is gambling currently, but you don't say, "No, I'm not doing it anymore," if you haven't done it.
No, I was just wondering, about that. I wasn't certain.
Yeah. But, so her childhood friend, right? Like, when we meet him in that first season, I'm like, oh, he's so nice.
I know.
He's
I
great. He's so handsome. You should run away with him, Mama.
I was like, oh, and then his wife broke up. I'm like,
Whoa.
Yeah.
Shame. Yeah.
And it seemed like, oh, this is gonna be great. He's gonna, like, he knows about the rebellion. He's gonna help her. And I'm just, and on one level, it was like, well, her husband's doing whatever he wants. Maybe she should do what she wants to.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then it was really disappointing in
Yeah.
season 2 when he turned up. And yeah,
yeah.
and I wondered when, like when Luthien was like, well, we'll deal with it.
Yeah.
And then I wondered, oh, when's that gonna be? And then the car shows up and I recognize it's one of his people. I'm like, oh, it's now.
Yes.
All right.
Not just one of his people,
Yeah.
right?
His head.
Yeah.
I just felt so bad for her because everything was crumbling, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, I've got nobody around me I can trust.
Not
Right.
1%.
Nobody to lean on, and I feel questionable about these decisions that are being made in the name of something I believe in, and just watching her realization that he was betraying her,
The one person she thought she could, like,
Yeah.
lean on.
that was hard.
Yeah, it was so, I mean, like, the look on her face, like a trapped animal. That episode, you know, what a, like,
Brilliant.
juxtaposition of, like, here's this ridiculous over-the-top wedding. And I suspect, in the context of the story, I was like, yeah, I mean, if you were that kind of political figure, you're under pressure to put on a really elaborate experience. Yes.
But do you think that galvanized her more towards something has to be done?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm curious, I'm of the mindset of kind of ironically being pro-empire. So, and I know I'm behind any lines here, but I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the idea that those who are pro-rebellion and pro-resistance, which is, I am, like unironically in the role I am, sure, but in the context of the story, what do you think of the idea that those who are, from our perspective, pro-instability, they're promoting anachronisms? And they're like, well, from my perspective as a 21st century American, this is what should be. But then looking at it from a perspective in the actual world of Star Wars, I know Andor did a good job of alleviating some of that, but I just want to hear your thoughts on that idea.
I have thoughts, but I don't have to be the person. So I think what you're saying is like, we're analyzing this from a modern perspective in our context,
Right.
and sort of applying our ethics and our viewpoint to this story of Andor, right? A story set in a galaxy far, far away in a different time with a different social context. And I would say that I understand why you're asking this question, I think. I think that this is a good question when you are coming from a modern perspective or from a particular geopolitical area, and you're trying to apply your ethics and your perspectives on, like, the past. So if we as a modern person are looking back at, you know, Henry VIII in the 1500s, we cannot necessarily view that through the lens of this is how we would handle things now. If we are like, I in Arizona am trying to apply my Arizona standard of living to how people live in the Philippines, that's also not particularly necessarily a good way to have an analysis. But keep in mind that Andor is fictional, written by people making choices who are from our context right now, and mostly from our part of the world as well. And so using our lens as people living in this time and place to analyze that fictional story that is being birthed in the context of our modern society, I think is perfectly reasonable.
Well, and also taking into account that it's not like we're coming up with these points out of a vacuum. We have the broad, like the broad and breadth and depth of Star Wars content to draw from in how we look at it. Because it's like, if you watch, I mean, even like, you know, Clone Wars, Rebels, even like just the other, like the live action films, it's like, no, the things that are happening, they're fucked up.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, enslaving people is wrong. And grinding people down under your heel because, you know, you want to strip mine their planet is wrong. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned earlier, and I just saw the note about it, so I'm just gonna share it now, was when they're talking about the Gormans and what they're gonna do on this planet, and they're just like, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna approach this? And someone said, why not a plague? Can we weaponize a plague? And they're like, oh, we actually gamed that out. It gets unpredictable very quickly. And I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah.
I think, yeah, I think that was a scene where I'm like, that feels too real.
I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So, yeah, and the fact that DJ, I think, is one that said, you need rebels you can depend on to do the wrong thing. So when, towards the end of the second season, we also get Deidre doing the false instigator thing too. Like, well, not enough is happening, we don't have a reason to do these things, and so let's
Create it.
fire, like, let's create something so that we can,
Yeah, an artificial.
yes, yeah, agitator.
Yes, right. No, I feel the same. I'm like, Deidre. No, the way, the cold-blooded way, the absolutely dispassionate, emotionless way, that group of imperial, like, officers and bureaucrats sits around and talks about how can we destroy Gorman so that we can strip mine it for resources. And then you go to the planet and you see these people. And like, so I became obsessed with Gorman because I am a costumer and I do fashion, right? And Gorman is the fashion planet. And I'm like, oh no, they're very good tailors. This is a tragedy. And not the tailors. Look at that twill, it's made by spiders. I want some. And so I went digging, and it's really like they're inspired by like the French resistance and the Dutch resistance. And it's like directly out and the Spanish like resistance that was all happening in these places where these people had just been like, we're happy making suits and tailoring and making fabric. What's happening? This is very surprising. Don't you want to buy a dress? And so I found that, I mean, like so many things in this show, it was very poignant. But also I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like, you're right. Why don't people just come and buy your suits? This is ridiculous.
Going back to something you said about Deirdre.
Yes.
Right? About how she was so dispassionate. We see the most evil things happening when we dehumanize a group of people, right? And I really struggled and felt bad at the end with Luthen and how he was looked at because he did the same thing in the name of building the resistance, right? To the point where he was almost the enemy because he had made so many decisions that were so dehumanizing. And I was just curious what your thoughts were on how they handled his loss.
Oh my God. Luthen. Oh my God.
I kind of in a way wasn't that surprised because how in season 1, he's got that guy who's a mole in the Empire.
Money.
And he starts to get very demanding, like, I want this, I want that. What have you done? What have you lost? And Stellan Skarsgård, like, brought it home with that monologue, and it's like, yeah, like, he's given everything.
Everything.
He's given, like, and so it's like, and so then you're like, yeah, whenever, and he's willing to do literally whatever it takes to further this cause. And that's why people start to not like him. And I kind of got the vibe that he didn't necessarily like that this started to happen, but he had to be okay with it because that's the work that had to be done. And he had Clea, who was basically, for all intents and purposes, his daughter, who was helping him because there's really good scenes between them where he's like freaking out about stuff and she's just like, I have to make it okay. We have to make this happen. And then there's something else that happens whenever she's like, if it's not perfect, don't do it. He's like, we've given up perfect. We can't have that anymore. And it was really kind of wild and moving and sad to see him have gone from this this powerful figure in season 1 to reach the point where he's just kind of like, well, everybody thinks that I suck, but at least I've helped build this base. And by that point, Mon doesn't trust him anymore because she knows it was him. She's like, well, I feel like what's going to happen if you think I'm the problem?
Yeah, right.
And he's just like, and she didn't want to believe him that her detail was compromised. But she eventually, she didn't really trust him anymore. She didn't like him anymore. But she knew that he would have the right intel. So when Cassian said, I have friends everywhere, she was kind of like, well, all right.
Luthen is such a complicated character.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have an actor like Stellan Skarsgård at that level to play him. And because he's so nuanced and complicated and unlikable, but also I'm brokenhearted about his trajectory. And once you learn his backstory, it's 10,000 times harder, right? To see where he came from and his relationship with Clea and how that developed. And it's
And then she has to kill him.
she has to kill him.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because if she doesn't, they'll get everything.
And he knows. And he'd probably be at peace with it.
Oh, for real.
Right?
Yeah, he would be the first one
The
to say
death would be a
no.
lot more painful.
But how terrible to have to kill your father. And Clea is also very pragmatic. They're extremely pragmatic, and I think there's a degree to which it's necessary for what they're doing. You need people like Nemec who are passionate idealists, right? Nemec is so critical and such a harrowing sacrifice. But if you don't have people who are like, yeah, man, great manifesto, but we have to feed people and have a place of operation. And we can't just idealist our way through the universe and hope for the best. And so,
you need people of all kinds and all levels, skill levels. Everybody has to leverage what they have.
Yeah,
But-
the thoughts and prayers comes from both sides.
Yeah.
We need action, not just thoughts and prayers, and that's on,
yeah.
And then it goes back to that privilege of he didn't have the privilege to look at people and build this collective. He was using, and at the beginning he talks about that he has to use the same weapons that are being used against him, right? And in the end, he's hated for that. Because they have the privilege, they have the infrastructure now that they can sit back and think about who they want to be.
It's really, and we've got Saw Gerrera, threaded through this a little bit, and we know what's coming with him and for him.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry.
no, please, go ahead.
But I think that was also a very a very kind of real world thing, because within all movements, there's infighting, because there's different factions that want different levels that are, and like Saul, like the backstory for Saul is that during the Clone Wars, the Jedi came to his homeworld and they were teaching them like how to like fight back, kind of like guerrilla warfare kind of things. And then whenever a fight happened, something went tragically, horribly wrong and his sister was killed. And that broke something in him. And that's what made him decide, you know, like, fuck the Jedi, fuck all y'all. I'm gonna do this my way, and no matter how violent it is.
Yeah.
Because Saw is another one who's like, I don't care what it takes.
Yeah.
This is what we're gonna do. Oh, there's a body count? Well, that's too bad.
Yeah, I feel like he's an interesting like comparison point to Luthen, and they are two sides of the same coin.
And he basically finished raising Jin Erso.
Yeah.
Because whenever her parents knew him from way back, and whenever she, like if something, I read the book about Jin. It's by Beth Revis and it's very good.
I was gonna ask.
But basically like they had like a little hidey hole in their home, and they told her, if someone comes for us, if something happens, call Saw. And he came and got her. Right?
Oh man.
But he came and got her, and he basically raised her in like his environment, and he kept her separate from most of it until she got older and could be and she was interested in what was happening, and until she could be useful.
Yeah, so she could be useful. Terrible.
So.
Yeah. No, but Luthen, I knew that was going to be his end.
Yeah.
There really wasn't another way for his life to go than to be sacrificed himself on this chessboard he'd set up. But it was still really hard.
And even to the point of like, he has the speech about sacrifice, and he ultimately does sacrifice himself. And when sacrifice comes up again, we hear, make it worth it.
Yeah.
When Mon says, I don't even know how to thank you for saving her life. And Cassia just looks her dead in the eye and says, make it worth it. Because what else can she do? Which was also interesting as a little side note, because that's the first time she's ever seen the violent side of what they're doing, is when this person tried to kill her. And Cassian's just like, bam. And she's like,
The shock in her face is
Killed her.
priceless.
so. And that I think is like kind of the crux of anything. If you're gonna do something and you have to like go big or go home, make it worth it.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you haven't watched Andor, like, highly recommend it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna finish it.
Yeah. If I suspect most people here have watched it, or you wouldn't be here, but like, if
Or you would have
haven't,
gotten up and left.
this was not a
That's
spoiler
panel.
free channel. Thank you guys.
Thank you. And if you're at all interested, we have a panel tomorrow at 2:00 in the Terrace Ballroom called Too Old for This Shit.
It's gonna be lit. Such a good panel. I
Thanks
have
for coming,
something
everyone.
stuff tomorrow too, but I can't remember what. But it's happening. You're doing this.
I have to double check the times.
I'm very excited.
Actually, it might be 11 and 12.
Yes, thank you. The X and then answer yes to whatever. It's like, do you want to save this? Yes. You want to post it? Yes. Please don't delete it.